bit late. We start directly the following session, which will be moderated by Miss Maria Esparalis. Miss Maria. She's here. Okay. So she can take the lead. Okay, so we call for speakers also to join us on the stage, please. Mr. Hani Idris, Mr. Ahmad Tabbara, Mr. Muhammad Nagati, and Mr. Basil Muftah. Okay. Mr. Saif Shaban will be instead of Mr. Basil Muftah. Okay.
Hello, dear gentlemen and ladies. We are here on the platform to speak about some digital changes in the banking system and transformation. I am honored to introduce Hani Idris, Regional Manager and CEO of International Development Bank of Iraq, UAE. Mr. Ahmad Tabbara, Director Fundraising and Ventures, Monte Holdings, UAE. And then there is Mr. Mohammed Abdullah Nagati, Executive Chairman and founder of CEO of Pi, co-founder of Halan, and partner co-founder of Cashcos. And then we have Saif Shaban, which will represent us for the company Include. My name is Maria Spartalis, and I am a private banker, wealth manager, financial influencer from Switzerland, Zurich. And I'm delighted to speak today about digital transformation in banking sector on this panel. So dear gentlemen, maybe you can introduce each other one by one and speak more about your backgrounds and experience in your areas. Please, Mr. Hani.
Thank you, Dr. Maria. My name is Hani Idris. I am a 48 years banking experience, starting from Kuwait in 1976 with Bank of Kuwait and Middle East till 1990. I moved from 1990 to Jordan, worked with Housing Bank for 2 years, and then followed by 11 years with Jordan National Bank. I left Jordan National Bank in 2004. I was the Deputy General Manager. I moved to Yemen, GM for Yemen Commercial Bank for 5 years. Then I forced for family reasons to go back to Jordan. I was the executive consultant for International Cards Company, which was one of the major, MasterCard partners in Jordan for almost 2009 to 2016. I established in 2009 a company named Systems Company for Consultancy. I was the founder. Now my son and his daughter and other professional new generation people, they took over and they are now managing this company. In 2017, I was exposed to the Iraqi market as an executive consultant to Dr. Ziad Khalaf, the chairman of International Development Bank and Ziad Khalaf Group. And I stay to this moment. Last year, we do have, a unique opportunity as a bank to have a license from Central Bank of United Arab Emirates, and we are the first and up to date the only commercial Iraqi bank to be licensed by Central Bank of United Arab Emirates to operate in United Arab Emirates. And probably we were the first bank to have a license from Central Bank of United Arab Emirates from 2005. My experience is in Kuwait, Jordan, Palestine, Yemen, Iraq, and now United Arab Emirates. I'm a traditional banker from 76 to 2004. There was a real shift from being a branch manager to manage the portfolio of the bank as it relates to technology banking services. I can say I witnessed the development of development of technology banking services and digital payment and financial services from 1994 to, it was 1976 and 1984 up to this moment, a sort of, exposure on payments, financial services in the banking and financial sector. This is in brief. Thank you very much, Doctor,
Yes.
for that.
Yes, Mr. Idris, we are really impressed by your tremendous career over 40 years in this area, and we will happily ask some more questions. But now we would like to let himself introduce Mr. Ahmed Tabara, who already also over 17 years in his area, and he will introduce his background. Please, Mr. Tabara.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ahmed Tabara. I'm an investment banker by background for over 17 years, mostly working in M&A and focus on the telecom and technology space. Currently, I run the investment and fundraising activities for a mobile service provider, Monty Mobile.
Maybe a
Yeah,
little
sure.
bit more loud, yes.
Is it better?
Like me.
Okay, sure. So for those who are not familiar, Monty Mobile is a global telecom solution provider. We operate across 100 countries. We have partnerships with telecom operators, over 180 telecom operators. And I'm happy to be here on this panel today to share my insights, and looking forward to having a meaningful dialogue around the topic.
Okay, yes, I give a microphone to Mr. Nagati, who is CEO of investment bank, and we are very interested to know your amazing background in finance.
Thank you for having me. My name is Mohammed Abu Naga from Egypt. I'm a computer engineer. I worked for a private equity firm when I graduated for 3 years. And then I worked for Fawri, which is the largest payments company in Egypt, for 8 years. And then I worked for Careem. I was the regional director for Careem, which was sold to Uber in 2018. Then I co-founded a company called Halan, which is now M&T Halan, and it became a unicorn 2 months ago. After Halan, I started venture building. I built a couple of ventures. One of them was for Orascom Financial Holding called Clever. The other one was for a big family office in Egypt called CheckMe. Then after this, we acquired a company called Exits, and we turned it into a technology investment bank, and we took a license from the FRA in Egypt to do this in Egypt, and hopefully we do this for the region. I'm also part of a fund called Disruptech, which is a fintech investment fund, and an accelerator called Cash Cows. And I'm very happy to be here to learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Shaban, can you please introduce your background in your area?
Sure thing. Thank you, Maria, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here today. So I'm Saif Shaban. I've basically been an investment professional for the last 6 years. I've worked on the sell side M&A for the most part in private equity, but on the sell side. But more recently, I've joined the venture capital ecosystem in Egypt, investing in fintech and fintech-enabled startups in Egypt and the region. And yeah, happy to be here.
Yes, so as we see, thank you so much, dear participant. We are speaking today about the digital transformation in financial sector. So how do you see, what is the digital transformation in financial sector generally? Who would answer this question?
Okay, please. Digital transformation, we need to remind everybody, digitalization is the fourth industrial revolution we are demonstrating as a humanity. And number one was steam revolution, followed by electricity revolution, and the third one was information revolution, which was last century, mid of 90s. And now we are in digitalization revolution, which is the fourth industrial revolution. digital transformation is a real, result and consequences of digitalization revolution. For me as a banker, and based on my capacity, I do give a strategic digital transformation for 12 banks in the region during the last 3 years. I believe digital transformation, if it's going to be managed successfully, and I thank really Dr. Al-Atrabi because he was really focusing on his speech about digital transformation from the whole elements of his speech. Digital transformation must be considered and treated as a civilization process. If it's not going to be taken this way, I believe it will continue doing not a job if it is redesigned. I believe that digital transformation is a component of 6 dimensions and elements that must be taken into consideration as a whole set. Number 1 is the governors, the institution itself. Number 2 is the employee, who is the assets and the valuable assets for any organization, and who is going to do the digital transformation. Number 3 is your customer. Your customer journey, because it is really a customer journey to be taken into consideration, because it is a shift, it is a civilization, it is a cultural move. Number 4, it is technology. And definitely we have to admit technology. But my advice for all bankers here and management of the banking industry, not to allow the IT people to eliminate and summarize digital transformation as its only technology. Technology is an essential element or dimension of the game, but it's not the only one. The fifth element is innovation. Without being equipped to be innovative, while you are doing digital transformation, you no way will be in the right position to compete. The sixth, and not probably the last, is operation or operating model. Doing that shift from the era you are now, or the status you are now, to the new status you are willing to, which is the digital transformation, definitely your operating model will be changed. So digital transformation is not only a mobile or online functionality. It is more than that. It is a mandatory and it's not a choice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And dear speakers, how do you see potential advantages for the bank collaboration in light of emerging innovative technologies? How do you see potential advantages for the banks, with collaboration in emerging innovative technologies?
Sure, yeah. So conventional banks have long been existing and continue to exist, and they have proven to be somewhat not what the new generation is looking for, and not as efficient as what everyone is looking for currently. With the digital innovation that we were discussing, it's, as mentioned, it's not only about having a mobile banking app or access to online banking. It's more about the full process of banking services, from digital onboarding, where there's no need for physical documents or physical presence, to transacting in a digital way. And this would drive efficiencies, would drive speed of transaction, and would help economy thrive in this aspect. Many banks are going toward the digitization of their operations, but there's another layer which is on top of that, which should be the regulators and the government policies, which should promote the acceptance of eKYC, of digital onboarding, of allowing speed of onboarding new clients, and allowing them to be part of the banking population. We know in the Arab world we have a large majority of underbanked or unbanked segment, and these mainly are because of the bureaucratic aspects of conventional banking. With moving into digital, this will allow underbanked and unbanked to have access to these basic financial service or banking services. And from there, this will also drive financial inclusion, which will help economies to thrive and develop.
Okay, thank you so much. And what do you think, which regulatory frameworks could be supportive, according to experience of UAE and also your countries, for this development of banking digitalization?
Okay, so throughout my working years in technology, we work closely with the regulators to produce the new laws that were part of the first electronic payments in 2012, and then the ride-hailing in 2016, and after this the laws with the microfinance and the lending later in 2016 and 17, and then the digital agent banking with the Central Bank of Egypt in 2021. So there has to be like a big ways of communication between the regulators and the technology providers, because at the end of the day, innovation is always faster than regulation. But it has to be done in the right way so that it doesn't harm the system and the banking system and financial system. Because let me speak about my country, which is Egypt. The banks in Egypt are very solid and very big and very important for the economy. And what happened with banks like Silicon Valley and Credit Suisse is very hard to happen in Egypt due to the highly regulated industry. However, the Central Bank of Egypt and the Financial Regulatory Authority are working very closely with us as the technology sector to disrupt this within the rules that won't harm the clients or make their money go away. So I think it's all a partnership between the private and public sector, and supported by the investment from foreign countries to empower this and lobby for this harder, so that we can leapfrog other areas and other countries by financial inclusion. Last thing I'm going to say is that today the number of wallets in Egypt is increasing massively. I remember in 2012 when we first launched our first wallet with a national bank in Egypt, the adoption was nothing. But today, most of the payments are done through wallets, and I think 3 or 4 years from today, there will be 100% of the Egyptians will have mobile wallets, which is technically a bank account. So this is very important for the communication between the public and private sector to leapfrog everything else. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Saif, what do you think, where the fintech will come for economic diversification, and just your feedback and your experience and your vision in this area?
So, I believe that fintech has always kind of been the backbone of digitalization of the banking sector. You've got when the credit card was first invented in the 50s, I think, and then the first ATM in the 60s, and it's always been the backbone of the banking sector and the financial sector generally. Right now, you've got the fintech industry in the UAE and the Gulf is booming immensely, and the same is happening in Egypt. And the way we see it is that basically the financial sector, so the financial sector is all about, and financial investment is all about making $1 into many, and that's what investment is all about. So economic diversification comes when you put capital into different industries, and through fintech that can really be done when you provide fintech products and fintech services to the different industries. So say if you provide a BNPL service for farmers to purchase tractors, for example, that's putting money into the agriculture industry, and that would help the agriculture industry rise and will increase the diversification in that direction. So yeah, I do believe that fintech really does have a huge role to play in both the financial services sector generally and in the diversification of the economy.
Thank you so much. Yes, due to my experience working in Switzerland and in Europe, I could admit that the digitalization of the bank industry is growing very much and increasing also now in Middle East and worldwide. It's really a tendency, and as we see by the last happening with the banks, like big banks, institutions like Credit Suisse, many big players are, how do you say, changing and even closing or giving back the licenses, and it all goes towards digitalization and similar solutions of the banks, all right? So based on your experience, Mr. Hani, what do you think, what would be the contribution of the banks and financial institutions in emerging markets, also taking into consideration your background with Iraq? How do you see the situation?
Oh, thank you very much for this question. Maybe I will take half of this session to answer that. But I would like just only to elaborate on the regularities. As based, we manage, at International Development Bank Iraq, to submit the first ever comprehensive feasibility study to the central bank, which is it's the only and the sole regulator in the country, to establish, probably it was the first ever virtual bank in Iraq. And we got the answer which really convinced me. He says, I cannot give you a license to establish the first ever virtual bank in Iraq because as a regulator, I don't have regulations to manage and operate such type of banks. Okay? So this is the role of the regulator. Anyway, as it relates to your very important question, what is the role and the contribution of banks and financial institutions in the emerging investment markets, which is the
Exactly.
title of that?
That's what
I believe the banks, they have the key role in any emerging markets. Being a bank by itself, your role is to contribute in the economic development of the country. This is one of the mandatory contribution or mandatory role for any bank in any country. This is number one. Number two is to develop yourself as a bank to be a leader and invest on this type of banking services, solutions, technology trend, really to improve that at the market level and contribute on the reducing or managing or better improve the financial inclusion in that particular country. The third one is definitely the bank in each country, and I mean emerging markets, emerging countries in this part of the world. And when I talk about emerging markets, I can't really specify, say, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Palestine, Yemen, Sudan, Libya. All these type of countries probably also mean Egypt and other countries and under development. So it is my role as a bank in every country to really facilitate the new investors coming to the country itself, to really give their right of having a bank that they trust, a bank they can rely on, giving them all the facilities needed by a bank, such as trade finance, probably, deposits management, international fund money transfer, in and out, these type of things. This is the main role of all banks. Based on our experience in Iraq, and I hope I'm not going to be selfish, but I am really going to document our tangible experience in this line of business. We as a group and owned by a group, the bank is one of the group elements. I can really talk about two main players in this game. It's the bank itself, which is International Development Bank, which is owned by the group itself, the chairman, Dr. Ziad, and also Arab Payment Services, which is one of the top two payment service providers in the Iraqi market, and they are processors. The challenge in Iraq, during the period we start working on that, which was probably, early 2018, the financial inclusion in Iraq was around the 20% only. Okay? We managed to contribute to a certain extent, not alone, with the other entities involved in the Iraqi market, to improve that from 20% financial inclusion to over 38% last year. I believe this is a unique achievement. What was the areas of investment and the contribution both did for the market? The Iraqi government, they did a very important decision when they force all government employees, there are around 5 million, to have an account at any bank they wish, and in the meantime to issue an international debit MasterCard and or Visa card where the salary will be transferred to that particular account and will be salary drawn by that particular card. Okay? The challenge was number of ATMs in the Iraqi market is only something around 1,500 terminals only, which is very low proportion. Okay? And the creation was to manage that. We as a bank and the payment service provider, we managed to create what we call, which is new in the market, a point of cash outlet network to really give the access and the network for the government employees to have their salary every month withdrawn using that normal point of sale terminal, which we call point of cash, which is interfaced and linked to the processor where the card is managed and operated. And this gives the facility for the employees to have their salary withdrawn from the outlet using the point of cash technology. In the meantime, we manage, and now as figures to know by banks, we as a bank in Iraq owns around 30% of the total ATM network, which is the highest percentage probably in the region. In the meantime, we managed to issue around 50% of the total international Visa and MasterCard cards in the market among the 65 private bank sectors. Banking sector in Iraq, number of banks in Iraq as private sector is 65. We managed to have 50% of these total cards, and that what really give us the lead to do a real help for the market to improve the financial inclusion from 20% to around 40% within 3 years' time.
Thank
you very much.
for this interesting experience exchange, Mr. Idris. Yes, I would like to add that, of course, digitalization and also crypto banks, they are changing a little bit market players' situation, and they're helping the emerging market countries to have some new possibility of international payments and collaboration to be more open to the world. And it's a very interesting time and challenge we are going through, but of course a lot of depends on decision makers, on regulators and countries which involve these rules for crypto or for digital banking systems. So I would like to ask Mr. Nagati, what is your experience in this area, because you are quite based in Dubai and go through interesting challenges in this area. Please share with us what are your experience in this digitalization format.
There was always a challenge for the technology sector because we are always in a hurry. We want to do things quickly. Right? For example, we had a very big problem in Egypt with KYC, which is the Know Your Customer part, because we had the products ready and we had everything ready, and we couldn't jump into the market without having a proper KYC product. And till now, this is still being fixed in Egypt, and I think that this will be a very big challenge, and if we pass through it, it will be very good for the Egyptian digital banking ecosystem. Something else is the security. Because at the end of the day, the more innovation and the more technology you add to the banking, the more fraud things can be done and hacks can be done. And at the end of the day, this is money. So the security has always been a challenge, and we always had to invest 20 to 30% of our money into the security and infrastructure to keep the information safe, and this was always a problem. The last one is the remittances. There is a huge gap and need for the cross-border payments, especially in the MENA region. Until today, no one was able to crack this. The cost of the remittances is extremely high, and the difference in currencies from between different countries is also very high. So people are working in different countries and sending money to their families, and a lot of this money goes to middlemen or middle entities that technically do nothing but just move the money from one place to the other. This has to be instant and has to be done smoothly, and I think that there is a lot of challenges, but this, in my humble opinion, is a very big opportunity for banks and fintech in the next 5 to 10 years in this region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What do you think, dear speakers, what are potential countries and sectors for investment in this area?
As my position in exits, we've been sitting with many investors and acquirers in the region for fintech. If I'm not mistaken, we sat in the last year with 2,800 investors, which is a massive number. What they're looking at is a profitable product, because the old way of burning money for growth is over with what's happening with the Fed and the interest going up. And the largest part for investment is what I call as phygital, which is the mix of physical and digital, like Halan and like Kareem, where you have something physical, like the car in Kareem or the person disbursing in Halan or doing the trip, and the digital part. Because in our region, and specifically in Africa and Egypt, it's very hard to do 100% digital transformation instantly. People are not ready for this. So you do it step by step, and having a physical part makes it more relevant to the people and gives it credibility and enhances profitability, because it's not as costly as technology, because of the salaries, and SG&A is very low because of our currencies. So I think that the highest investments will be in the phygital, which is the physical / digital investments in the emerging markets such as Egypt.
Thank you very much. And as we have here expert in telecom industry, I would like to ask Mr. Tabara, what are your vision of emerging technologies, innovations in the telecom area and industry? Please share with us some new...
In the telecom area, yeah? Sure. So if I were to talk from my perspective, I believe second to banks, telecoms are the next drivers of the financial digital transformation of financial services. This has started some time back with the telecom operators offering direct carrier billing, where you can pay for something and adding that invoice to your utility, to your telephone bill, basically, such as parking, when we pay for parking here through SMS. This has started, and this has allowed millions of people that don't have access to credit cards or payment services to access sometimes of services. It has moved then with telecom operators offering wallets and payment services to the current era where telecom operators are being granted financial licenses to conduct financial services. We have different examples like STC Pay being granted a license, Vodafone being granted a license. The idea behind that is telecom operators have access to the masses. to a large number of customer base. And this customer base can be leveraged to offer them these financial services and to generate new types of revenues. However, having said that, telecom operators cannot work separately without the banks or without the regulated and authorized financial institution. Financial institutions have the know-how of how to process payments, of how to conduct transactions, and they are regulated, and they have also the license to conduct KYCs and to make sure that whoever is transacting is legitimate. While telecom operators offer the technology, offer the network, and offer the customer base. So I believe these two combined together will be driving the innovation and the transformation of financial services. And it has started already, but we are going to see more of that with the introduction of 5G, the speed, real-time payment, with the introduction of IoT, of AI. You can leverage basically what we call it alternative data sources. So when consumer used to go to a bank to apply for a loan, they used to ask him for bank statements, they used to ask him for salary, and so on. Now, with the telecoms being involved, you check his payment history of the invoices, you check his payment history on e-commerces, and based on these data, you can provide him a credit scoring and give him lending. So I believe telecoms and banks go hand in hand when talking about digital transformation of financial services.
One more question. As a leader in fundraising, in technologies, what problems do you face in fundraising issues?
Sure. Okay. So I can speak from my own experience,
Yes, sure.
basically. We've been at Monty Mobile currently. We've been undergoing a fundraise financing. Basically, we're looking to get substantial financing to grow our businesses, and our business is mostly dealing with the mobile operators. One of the verticals we do is A2P SMS, so basically application to peer SMS, and usually these involve a substantial investment from our end, in the tens of millions and hundreds of millions, depending on the number of subscribers of the operator we're partnering with. So I've been visiting many banks, regional and international and local. And while all of them, they are really impressed with our balance sheet, with our business model, with our payment history, and all of that, at the end, they come to me and ask me, okay, we understand your business, you have very good balance sheet, you're sound. Could you please offer us real estate? Could you please offer us a tangible asset as a collateral? If you don't have, do the founders, shareholders can offer their personal guarantee and real estate? So basically, we haven't moved yet for banks in the region and even international banks to believe in the business model of digital companies, which are very asset light. We don't have any tangible asset to offer as collateral or as security. It's mainly our business model. And if you look at digital companies, they have become more valuable than oil companies like ExxonMobil and Shell.
True. Digital company, sorry to interrupt because we are ending our panel, interesting, exciting panel, but digital companies are our future, the digitalization and so on. So, Mr. Shaban, just to complete our discussion, in which sectors you are investing in your startups in Egypt? Just 2 or 3 words. Like, what are the areas?
So I'll speak from my own experience. Right now, what we're investing in is fintech. I'll speak within fintech. Consumer credit is definitely one of the biggest sectors that are rising in Egypt with BNPL. With multiple BNPL players rising, but there's also RegTech. You see a lot of digital identity players coming into the market, and it's something that we definitely need given the KYC problems that we were just speaking about earlier. And then you've got the Rosca model, companies like Money Fellows and companies like Al Jam'iyya. It's definitely a way to basically crowdfund other individuals, and it's a very, very smart way of being able to allocate money. So I think these are mainly the fintech industries that I think are the most interesting in Egypt and in the region, given the current economic status.
Thank you very much. So we have to thank today to all our panelists. It was very interesting trip, and we hope that we can talk about this topic individually by contacting all our panelists. Thank you so much for being with us today. Have a nice day.